so that you can follow along today. Thanks very much, and I'll look forward to getting started with you about three and a half minutes here. By Accountants World. We're joined today by Matt Vaadi, CEO of ERG Payroll and HR, and he'll be speaking on how he has tripled his payroll business by offering HR services. I want to thank you for joining us today. My name is Div Bansali. I'm a vice president at Accountants World. We're also joined by Tom Provine and Roger Batista from our Accountants World team. We want to all welcome you to today's presentation. A couple of quick housekeeping items before I turn this over to Matt. Number one, for the GoToWebinar control panel, if you don't see the control panel, look for an orange arrow that allows you to expand or hide the control panel. You can select your audio options under the audio tab. You can select either computer audio or phone call. If you select phone call, you'll get a dial-in number and an access code there. And if you have any questions for Matt, go ahead and send those in under the questions tab. Make sure to click send after you type those in. And Matt will try to get to those later on in today's presentation. Also, just briefly wanted to mention another payroll goodie that we're offering right now. We've just completed a brand new ebook here at Accountants World called 8 Tips to Make More Money from Payroll. And this is based on our experience in delivering payroll services to thousands of accountants and professional processors. So in our conversations, we identified 8 elements to create a highly successful, profitable payroll service for your practice. And this covers everything from how do you find a system that's designed for your specific needs, how do you calculate processing speed and cost, what's the role of automation in your payroll practice and how can you maximize it, how do you market your payroll services to stand out in a crowded marketplace. So all of this and much more is available in this free ebook. And so since you're here to listen to a payroll and HR webinar today, I thought this would be a great chance to offer you this ebook for free. So I'm going to go ahead and launch our first poll question today, which is very simply, would you like to get a free copy of this ebook, 8 Tips to Make More Money from Payroll? So if you'd like to get it, select yes. If not, select no. I promise I won't be offended if you select no here. So go ahead and select one of those 2 options and then make sure to click the submit button so that your vote is counted. And if you select yes, we will be emailing this out to you sometime in the next few business days. You should be getting an email from Accountants World with a link to that ebook. So I'll take just a few more seconds here. I see about 90% of you have voted at this point. And thank you to all the folks who have already voted. We'll take a couple of final seconds here. Going once, going twice. Okay, great. So with that out of the way, wanted to introduce Matt Vaadi. As I mentioned before, he's the CEO of ERG Payroll and HR. Matt's an experienced leader in collaborative integrated solutions for HR and payroll, and is a best-selling author of an organizational strategy book called Ping Pong is Not a Strategy. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Matt Vaadi.
Thanks, Dev. Appreciate that very much. And let me know, Div, when I'm sharing my screen.
All right, so I'm seeing the presenter view right now.
Okay. Hold just one moment for me. All right, am I sharing, Dev?
Yep, looks great.
All right, great. Sorry about that, everybody. Hope everybody's having a great afternoon. For those of you on the East Coast, and top of the morning to you on the West Coast. So I'm going to take just a few minutes here to walk you through our story and a little bit more about me. Talk a little bit about how we created our HR support model and made it so it can scale around the country as well as locally. And then also just go through what systems and processes we use to perform our services. And so I just want to share a little bit, like I said, about us first. Back in 2014, I left after being an industry veteran, if you will, in the payroll and HR space with one of the large national players, and broke out on my own and started my own payroll company called ERG Payroll, where we go every single day head to head with the national providers, the same folks that many of you on the phone do every day, the titans of our industry, the ADPs, the Paychecks, the Zenefits and the Gustos. And much like you, the reason we offer payroll services and the reason we went into this industry is because we know that if you cast a 3-mile radius in any given direction, there will always be a percentage of small businesses inside that circle that prefer to partner with a localized provider. And so we go head to head with these folks, and much like you, we win. And there's usually more than one reason that we win, but over time, we started to see more and more demand for human resources, software, and services. And the challenge once you start to offer those types of services is that you have to compete with these folks who have astronomical budgets and great software that's been around for years. And so we need to be able to offer great software to still be able to keep those folks that want to partner with local companies engaged with somebody like us in a competitive fashion. And so, what we did in all of our wisdom was, after hearing all of this demand for human resources, software, and services, we started to cobble together all these different solutions to help our clients. So we had, we started out with just payroll relief, and after a while realized that we didn't have enough. And with payroll relief, as far as no HR module, no integrated HR services. So we left payroll relief back in 2016. So we didn't fully leave. We kept a couple of clients with payroll relief, but we migrated most of our clients over to another platform. And then we started to cobble together this mess. And so, we thought we were missing out on a lot of opportunities by not having this. And so we got together something for applicant tracking, a different system for employee onboarding, another system for background checks, one system for timekeeping, one system for payroll. The payroll system was supposed to have integrated HR. Turns out it was an acquisition they made that they never fully got integrated. And so we never really had integrated HR. Same with benefits administration. That was something that never quite got integrated with the platform. And so we wound up doing manually for a lot of our clients. And what happened was, we got to this point because we kept saying yes to our customers, and they would say, "Oh, can you guys add this?" "Oh, of course, we'd love to." And by the time we got done and we kept going out and selling these deals, we realized that we had created this monster. And then one quarter, it all came to a head, and we lost a batch of our largest customers sort of all at once, because really we just weren't executing the way that we had originally envisioned. I mean, when you go out and start a business, like many of you on the phone have, you obviously do it because you want to provide a super high level of service. We model companies like Ritz-Carlton, like Chick-fil-A, companies that are known for having extraordinary customer service. And that's why we were saying yes to everything, is because we wanted to provide that high level of service. But ultimately, we had created a huge mess for ourselves. And so in 2017, towards the end of 2017, we made the strategic decision to say, all right, we need to undo this and start to get a more consolidated set of systems for our clients. What are we going to do? And so we decided at that point that we're going to start building our own HR software. I had some experience consulting HR software companies in the past, and then we were going to go back to payroll relief. And I'm going to talk more about that software in just a little while, but there are a couple of key points I want to make here. And first was that the grass isn't always greener. We hear all the time, the white label payroll market, if you will, is sort of you see people kind of disenfranchised at times with different systems and always thinking that something else out there is better, and they're always missing out. And we realized after making a move that, as a matter of fact, we made a terrible move, because one of the great things about payroll relief a couple of the great things that it's got integrated ACH, integrated tax. We had to have multiple other providers to provide those things when we left Payroll Relief, which just created more chaos to this picture. So the grass wasn't greener. And as a matter of fact, when we came back from these other platforms to Payroll Relief, we did away with about the equivalent of a full-time employee's worth of labor of maintaining the back ends of these systems. They're so much more complicated than what we were used to. And second, I think the biggest thing, and you've kind of heard me allude to it, is that don't let your customers get you too far off course. I have the conversations every day where people think, oh, if this platform just had this one more button or this one more key feature. I think applicant tracking is the greatest example for us of that, where we thought we really needed an applicant tracking system. It showed really well in demos whenever we would go out and sell. And then we realized after we put a lot of our clients on it that they weren't really using it to its capabilities, and they were still doing most of the work in Indeed.com anyway, and it was not integrating very well with anything else, so it wound up just being more of a headache than it was actually worth. And so, before I share a little bit more about our processes, let me just kind of share a little bit about me. And Div already alluded to some of this, but for those of you on the phone, I know there's a large contingency of Payroll Relief customers up in the Northeast. I'm originally from upstate New York. I currently live in Columbia, South Carolina. I'm a family man. I've got a wife and two beautiful children. I'm sort of an accidental HR nerd. It was one of these things where I took a look back at my career, and the thing that really got me the most passionate and most excited over time was to help companies to engage, retain, and grow their top talent. And so hence ERG stands for Engage, Retain, and Grow. And, Div already mentioned the author piece. I've been blessed enough to pen this book that is now helping companies around the world to improve their internal culture and try to become a great place to work. So ultimately they can keep those people around longer who are their number one asset. But I am also, as a New Yorker, a pizza enthusiast. And so if I come to your town, I'm going to find the pizza and I'm going to eat it probably multiple times per day. So what I want to accomplish today is just provide a lot of value, hopefully, to you guys on the phone. I want to provide some of the processes and tools that we use to provide our HR software and services to our clients at ERG Payroll and HR that are going to help you to grow your top line and improve the experience for your clients. So as I alluded to, after being on board with getting ERG off the ground for a couple of years, that's when we decided we wanted to make our own HR software. So when you see that logo up in the corner and you hear me talk about Guru, that's another company that I co-founded that builds white label human resources software and provides HR services for accounting firms. So we'll talk about it a little bit. And finally, before I move on with the About Me part, connect with me on LinkedIn. I love talking to other folks who own payroll companies and just sharing best practices and trying to help each other to grow in our region, since it's very rare that we cross paths directly. So look forward to connecting with some of you after the call. So we get the question a lot: should accountants offer HR services? Many accountants are scared because they know this is not what they were a professional at. They're, a CPA or an accountant. They're trained, they're educated, and they're not HR quote unquote pros. But I often hear the opposite, where when your clients have HR related questions, who are they calling? We have a ton of accountant partners here around the region, and they often call me with HR questions that their clients called them with. And so, are you losing some potential opportunity for recurring revenue because you're not willing to offer a service that's going to help your clients and meet them at their point of need and help them to consolidate services with one provider? And I think you should not only be earning the revenue on that, but let's talk about the pure fact of HR and payroll services. The reason you probably got in the payroll services space to begin with is it's monthly recurring revenue. HR services and support or in technology are also monthly recurring revenue, which is gold, right? So the thing that to me stands out that is the biggest, most appealing thing about going into the HR services and technology space is that while it's a $15 billion market in the US, that's not that impressive to me. What is impressive is that over the next 18 months, more than 50% of companies are going to be changing how they handle their HR software processes. So that means more than 40 million employees are going to be moving platforms or starting on a new platform. So that means there is so much market share out there for all of us on the phone to take advantage of and try to help our clients to further take care of their number one asset and their people. So let's take a look at kind of the three different buckets at our company at ERG, how we provide services and what that looks like on a monthly recurring revenue. So MRR, monthly recurring revenue. So our average monthly recurring revenue per client base, and we tend to lump them into three different types of clients. We have payroll clients. We have clients that we offer payroll services with HR software on top of that. So that would be things like timekeeping, employee onboarding, core human resources. And that's more of the self-enabled environment. So the client is logging in, tracking and managing their employee data inside the systems. They're processing their own payrolls inside of Payroll Relief, all self-service, right? And so you can see the jumps there. And then HR services are when we layer our human resources expertise in management on top of the payroll and HR software. And so as you look at the monthly recurring revenue for each of these service levels, you'll see it's a pretty nice jump just to start offering the HR software. And while not every one of your clients, a percentage of your client base are going to need HR software and timekeeping software, and that trims down a little bit further on the HR services model. Not 100% of your clients are going to need HR services, but I'll tell you how our client base breaks out, and that's about 30% of our clients are on our HR services model, but they represent about 75% of our revenue because, as you can see, their numbers are about 6x what our normal payroll client is. So that's really exciting from monthly recurring revenue and should get you excited about different opportunities you have in this space. But what makes me so excited about it, why we've stuck here, is that we found these deals are actually easier to win. So we've got a completely different message. When I go into an account and they're talking about ADP and paychecks and, they're comparing whether or not the payroll system can take deductions this way or that way or whatever, I'm having a strategic conversation with them about their number one asset, about their people strategy, and what they're doing to become a great place to work, and start statistics and data around what it means, how much more productivity you get from an employee who's engaged, and how can we help you to get there while insulating your company from risk and without having to hire a full-time HR person. So let's take a look at our journey and kind of how we put together our process. First, one of the things I want to make sure I'm clear on when we talk about the sales process, we talk about positioning this with your customers. Most of your competitors are going to be talking in terms of is, does, means. So they're going to say, what is it? Well, we offer a payroll system. What does it do? It does payroll processing and tax filing and money movement, direct deposit, et cetera. What does that mean? Well, that means that you don't have to worry about it and we're going to handle it and you can sleep better at night. Whereas we speak the opposite way, and we speak on about a different topic. So what does it mean from our side? It means you can have a more productive company with a higher bottom line because you have more engaged, better trained, higher performing teammates who are staying with your company longer. So think about that. Higher performing teammates who stay with your company longer. As a matter of fact, your most engaged employees, your top 30%, outperform your other employees by 200%. So if we can help people to engage and retain people longer, that's huge for their bottom line, right? So what are we doing? Well, we're creating a turnkey HR infrastructure for small businesses that combines technology, best of breed software, Payroll Relief, and Guru, combined with expertise of HR business partners and professionals that can help you to focus on what you do best. And then what is it? It's a payroll and HR technology platform that has expertise behind it. And so we kind of shift the playing field. We'd rather go into an account and back down, kind of working right to left. If you think about that previous slide, start with our highest ticket item, start with HR services, and then back it down into payroll if it's not the right fit for the account, rather than going the other way and trying to upsell. So let's take a look at how we kind of position these things in the market beyond that. Oh, one thing I'd like to mention on this slide is, some of you are probably wondering, like, who are the best targets for this? I will say that there's some really low-hanging fruit when you look at the HR services side, and that is people coming off of PEOs, people that have spun off of larger companies, professional service companies with between 10 and 50 employees. They don't typically have enough budget or resources to hire full-time HR, but they still have all the HR issues. I've heard HR called death by 1,000 cuts. And we want to help them to band-aid some of those cuts and cure what ails them, right? And it's also really good for those companies coming off of the PEOs because they get a great alternative with better localized support, huge cost savings typically versus a PEO. And so while the HR solutions are the highest price ticket in our bag, they tend to save our clients money versus their other alternatives of being, a PEO or hiring an individual. And you don't have that conversation when you talk about payroll. You're not usually saving a lot of money when it comes to payroll. You're not having strategic conversations. So I think that alone makes the conversations different and helps you to stand out in the market. All right, so let's talk about our journey and kind of how we got to where we are. Well, first of all, I'd say a lot of bumps and bruises. I probably quote this from Mike Tyson at least once a week. Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. We had a plan that we put together that, we spent a lot of time on and we thought was going to be the perfect thing to solve our clients' needs related to human resources based on what we heard of the market. And then, as soon as we started rolling clients out on it, we got punched right in the face pretty hard and our plans had to change. The biggest part of that came from us over-promising. So we are service fanatics and companies, we're studying those companies, like I mentioned, the Ritz-Carltons, the Chick-fil-A's, and we want to do what they do. We want to overserve. But we had trouble saying no. And so we wanted to create an amazing experience for our clients, but ultimately it was creating a poor experience because our operations got sideways when you take a look back at all those different systems that we had to put in place. And ultimately that kind of creates a lot of custom things for your clients where, we believe that you should create a framework that's reusable over and over again for each client. And then that allows you the flexibility to do custom things as they come up. And so what happened was, as I alluded to earlier, we got to a point where we lost several large clients and it was time for some reflection. We had to make some key decisions on where we were going in our future. And we realized that we weren't going to be relying on software that wasn't already available and we were going to move back to payroll relief. And so I had a conversation with one of my mentors about that time. And I told it, he asked me, he said, he knew we were only a couple of years into this. And he was like, so how's it going? How are things? And I was like, Sean, the thing that's most troubling to me is that there are no black and white answers in entrepreneurship. Everything is so gray. And I just feel like we continue to, everything there's a million different answers to. And he said, no, you're wrong. There's a million right answers. You just have to pick one and implement like hell. And it was a derivative of this quote from Jack Welch, where we had to pick our direction and really focus and bear down and start to implement some processes and procedures that were going to be sustainable over the long term. And I'm going to share some of those with you here momentarily. And that was our biggest focus. You're probably going to hear me say the word processes 50 times during the course of this 45 minutes, but it's been the most pivotal thing about our business is just creating reusable turnkey processes we can pull off the shelf for every single client so that when things pop up, we've got the time and resources to be able to spend on them. So we started to evaluate some of the systems, and this was when we decided we're going to go back to payroll relief. We decided we're going to build our own HR software. So as we look at that monstrosity and that web we created before, we kind of put together a spreadsheet and said, what are the functions that each of our clients are actually using in each of these that are on it? So, we've got working left to right columns across the top of each of those different pieces of functionality. And what we started to realize was that, people weren't using hardly any of those functions that they thought they wanted when they originally bought. They were really just wanted the core pieces of it, and they wanted us to help on the HR side. And so that's when we created the ERG method. The ERG method is our proprietary way of solving HR problems for our clients. And our team came together, mapped this out on a whiteboard, and then started to fill in all the blanks by creating those processes and procedures inside of our standard operating procedures. And we made a simple roadmap that our clients could look at and realize what HR success was going to look at. And I'm going to show you that in a moment. But let's take a look at those three buckets of service again, because I think this is where it really hit the road for us first, is we just wanted to make sure that we had defined packages around each of these. And one of the main reasons I'm coming back to this is because I want you to be aware as the listener, when I'm talking about HR software and HR services, the HR software is that sort of, employee onboarding, HR document management, e-signatures, timekeeping, clock in, clock out, reporting, all that stuff that we need as an extension of payroll. And then HR services, I'm going to speak a little bit more about that here, and I'm going to look at our model because, once again, this is where we spend most of our time. But probably the thing that saved us the most time and headaches over the last 3 years was when we just defined our packages and said, hey, these are the only 4 packages you can buy from us. We've got a simple payroll package. We've got a payroll plus package that includes that HR software. We've got an executive payroll and HR service that includes that everything that we're going to go through here in just a moment. And then an executive HR, which stands alone with no payroll software underneath it. So that has made our lives exponentially easier from a pricing, proposal, operational, everything you can imagine. Just simplifying our offerings and really boiling them down made everything simple for us. So let's talk about simplicity. So I remember this is a quick overview of the ERG method, and this is pulled right off of one of our marketing pieces. And that marketing piece is the same thing that we can look at internally and say, where is this customer in their journey with us? Now, we don't use these months on the side anymore. We've taken that out, but I did want to leave them here for purposes of just trying to share some value related to how we set this up operationally. But I'll never forget being in front of a prospect once, and he told me, he said, Matt, this is so simple when you walk me through it, a 5-year-old could understand it. And that's where we have to be when we're trying to explain to somebody how we're going to serve their HR needs. And this is what our team came up with during those meetings where we said, hey, what is the ERG method? What have we been doing for our customers that they love? What have we been doing that doesn't matter? Let's focus on all the things that have results, and let's focus on all the things that are going to, once again, insulate them from risk. So I'm going to take a poke through each of these and just kind of talk about how we handle it and some of the processes we built around them. So the first phase of an engagement with a customer on our HR services model is what we call the diagnosis and implementation phase. So we do our proprietary HR diagnosis where we are evaluating everything that they do from pre-hire to post-termination as it relates to HR. So that's, how they handle hiring. Do they interview? Do they keep applications? How they handle performance management. What's their process look like? Do they have this policy, that policy? We've got a spreadsheet that works left to right, 9 to 10 tabs along the bottom. We're evaluating their business and their understanding of their internal HR at a very high level so that we can then put in place the action plan. So the action plan kind of becomes the guiding light for the relationship in that we've got a matching document that is a template where I have my answers for my HR diagnosis. I can immediately take things off of the HR diagnosis that are potential areas of liability or concern, put them into the action plan, and now we can prioritize them based on when they need to be done. And each month, our HR business partner meets with the client to walk them through, hey, here's where we're at, here's where we're going, has anything changed? And then they obviously have that reactive capability to reach out to their HR business partner as well. And all the while, concurrently, we're implementing the HR software and payroll software side of it. So that means that we're setting up the payroll system. The payroll specialist is playing lead on that. The HR business partner is assisting with making sure that the HR side of the house is set up properly. And we've got a team that's rolling this out. And once again, we can afford to put that team in place because we've put a price point on this that makes it where it's sustainable over the long term. So during this phase, like I said, we remove these months on the side because people tend to get kind of lost in the sauce on that. But that typically takes 30 to 90 days, depending on the size and complexity of the account, before we're into and actually moving into that compliance administration phase 2, which is where we're really starting to focus on process improvement. And it was funny, as I was preparing for this, I was thinking about my book. If you grab my book, and this is not a plug for the book, maybe I'll buy a candy bar if you buy one, but we basically lay out our entire process in that book. How do we suggest people do recognition programs? How do we suggest they do performance management programs? While they're not the only ways in the world to do those things, we know that having a process is better than having no process. And so we've got processes. We help our clients to improve those key processes. And if I'm to share even further, the ones where we see companies that have the highest level of success and execution on the small business side are companies that onboard their people very well. You cannot spend too much time on onboarding. Onboarding is the most pivotal point in an employee-employer relationship. It is your first impression. It is where you're going to drive engagement, because part of onboarding is not a one-day thing. It's a 90-day thing or more when done properly. Part of that is education. Part of that is socialization into the workforce. And we want to make sure that we are really wowing those employees when they come on board, and we're really training the employer on how to create the type of environment where they can get up to speed quickly. And that's how you breed productivity down the road. As a matter of fact, companies that have a formalized employee onboarding program, their employees are 200% more productive in year 2, just based on they tend to hit the ground running faster rather than the whole, we're just going to throw them to the wolves mentality. So we spent a lot of time trying to improve processes there. And once again, we use that HR diagnosis action plan, and then we're using a combination of technology and expertise to say which processes need the most work. Now, employee communication. We're moving into surveying the employees. We're making sure that things we're doing are what the employees care about. I can't tell you how many times you go into an employer and they want to talk about, we want to do this for our employees. Well, does that benefits plan matter to them? Do they care about it? Is it something that they actually want? I think sometimes, there's just a lot. More times than not, there is poor communication between leadership and employees. And so we try to help them find ways to create sustainable long-term communication policies and understanding from their team. And then a lot of custom HR documentation. And this is where I'll probably make mention a couple of times of Mammoth HR, but Mammoth HR is very helpful in that we use them as our online HR library for documents and templates, et cetera. So when we get into, this is where we say we ultimately want to get into is more of the people strategy, escalated performance management, training managers how to coach people, succession planning, compensation analysis, policy development, and really our goal for everybody is trying to create the best place to work humanly possible so that they can achieve all those things we've talked about throughout. So here's how we position it on the market. That was mostly me talking about most of those things you heard were sort of a blend of the technology and the people. And we let folks know that's the biggest differentiator. And that's where you guys on this phone call have the greatest opportunity, is that when you combine technology with HR expertise, you create a secret sauce that is harder to replicate by the big companies, because let's face it, one of the reasons we win so many local and regional deals is because they like the fact that they get to know us and we get to know them. If your HR business partners are all sitting out of offices all around the country and they can't reach every suburb like the national providers, this is a much harder model to execute on. And so we position the technology side. So we're going to provide this client with online payroll and HR, which includes online payroll, HR automation, which we'll look at in just a moment, and timekeeping. And then all those other things, we say, okay, let's evaluate what they have in place. How can we maximize what they already have? Does their broker have things available? And it was kind of interesting in preparing for this. I saw that on the landing page, they talked about how you can become an HR hero for your client. That's actually a little bit flip-flop with our marketing. So we talk about we're being the HR guide for our clients, and our clients are the HR heroes, because let's face it, at the end of the day, nobody wants to work with the hero. You want to be the hero, right? So we want our clients to be the hero, and we want to be the ones that put them in a position to do that. And so we offer the technology side of it, and then we offer the people side of it. So how we administer that, and this is probably the part that it will be most foreign to a lot of you on the phone and took us the longest time to put together, was how these dedicated HR guides interact with the clients. And we put it into 3 prongs, and we document it well. And I'll talk about some of the processes we use to document in just a moment. But we have an employee help desk. So this is invaluable, probably the most used thing from all of our clients that use us for HR support services. All those calls that come in from employees, hey, how do I find my PTO balance? Where's my pay stub? I got locked out. How do I change my password? Where's the handbook? How does this, I don't understand how this policy reads. So they have an outlet now where, once again, if you're a 15, 20 employee company, all those questions coming into you every day, to have somebody else take them is really, really valuable. An HR business partner who does things like the policy creation, creating the handbook. They manage those monthly action meetings. They take the reactive questions. Susie came in today and told me she quits, but I really want to keep her. What should I do? Or, hey, I need to have a performance-related conversation with this employee. Is what I'm going to say appropriate? And then and then the administrative assistance, which boils down to, you think about having the technology at the center of the relationship in the HR services model. That means that we have access and can assist with processing, assist with running reports, with entering data as need be, and really become an extension of their team and meet them at their point of need. And so let's take a closer look at the technology side, because I know that's a piece that a lot of people have interest in. And for us, when we started to pull back the curtain, going back to moving away from the monstrosity that we had originally created and moving back to payroll relief and developing software, which developing software, as you know, is a big endeavor. So we couldn't develop every piece of functionality under the sun. We had to figure out what those must-haves were. And ultimately, when we started to boil it down, we knew to execute this model, the must-haves were as follows. We needed payroll. We needed onboarding. Employee onboarding was the number one thing. It was the thing that even the smallest companies expressed the most desire and used the most frequently. I mean, every hire, even if you only hire a couple people a year, to have that completely automated and get somebody on board with a couple of clicks instead of the old method of paper and poor experience, it spoke bounds from our customers. And then the core HR. Obviously, we work with a lot of folks who we want to get off the paper. We want to get everything online. We want to have all of our employee files online. We want everybody to e-sign documents online. We want to have their performance-related information online. And then timekeeping right behind that, the ability to track and manage time. And then behind that, we had HR expertise, which only applies if you're looking at the HR services model. And the HR library, much the same. And like I said, we partner with Mammoth HR, and I can't recommend them enough. For the HR library piece, and for the also using their HR on demand. We will buy HR on demand accounts for most of our clients and use them as backups behind our HR business partners to ask questions when we sort of hit our gap or want to bounce it off of somebody. So it's a great relationship for both of us, and we've loved working with them for years. What we realized, though, was everything else was a total nice to have. Going back to the Ben admin, the applicant tracking, all that, unless they were just anomalies. They were in that 5%. They were a staffing company that had massive turnover and were constantly posting jobs and just really needed the applicant tracking that flowed right in. Or, they just have some really complicated benefits plans and high turnover. Like, it took these really sort of, fringe cases were creating a lot of other systems for us. So now we manage it on a user by user basis, but we don't go rolling out new systems for everything. All right, so let's talk about the technology for just a moment. So our primary focus in developing Guru is to develop a system that meets the needs of companies with 50 or less employees in an elegant, simple, easy to use fashion. So we also our mission is to make this as seamless as possible with payroll relief. One of the reasons is obviously, I'm a co-founder at Guru. I'm also the founder of ERG Payroll and HR. And we're Guru's biggest customer, and we are a payroll relief shop. And so we want this to be a seamless experience over time. We were one of the first ones working on their API. We're about to go live with their API, pushing data from Guru to payroll relief. All new hire data flows over. And in the next couple months, you're going to see everything from time data flowing to pay stubs flowing back into Guru. The short-term goal is to have employees have one single sign-on into Guru instead of having to sign into both payroll and payroll relief, Guru and payroll relief to be able to view their data. And ultimately, we want to take what has been a complex process in the past and make it super simple. So let's take a look at the software briefly. And this is, I want to look at it from both sides of how do we help our clients when we're offering HR services, and how do we let our clients help themselves? So we've got an onboarding module. You can see from looking at the top of the screen here, and this is just a bit of a screen share, is that we set up a very simple step-by-step process that kind of mirrors the Amazon shopping experience. It's very straightforward. You required fields moving from one to the next. We had found with the onboarding systems that we used that they were not this straightforward and people were getting lost. And ultimately for us as the payroll bureau, all that work came back to us, right? So you think about, I talked about we did away with a full-time employee's worth of work when we changed systems. A lot of that is because anytime your customers can't use it, you've got to spend more time training them. You've got to spend more time on support. We wanted to build a platform that was totally self-enabled for the client. And even then, if we wanted to be able to do some more managed services on the HR services side, we could easily also log in and be able to help them and do it. And so, it's probably worth noting that in the reseller model, we do set up accountants, obviously, on this platform as resellers, and you can see all of your clients and quickly and easily flip from client to client, similar to how you do in payroll relief today, to be able to serve them and meet their needs in any way that you want. We have really well built out support processes in there in articles, along with product tours that help them to self-set up when they initially get going on the HR software, which will save you a ton of time. So timekeeping, we mentioned, was also a big need for our clients. And we wanted a system that was really simple, self-enabled for the employee, not cumbersome to the employer, and not cumbersome to our payroll bureau. So we made things that were really simple. Somebody logs in, they can do this from mobile or online. They can easily clock in, clock out. You'll see a button right there in the middle as well. It says View Edit Time Card. So people can submit requests for edits to their punches without being able to, the old environment that we were in, we had to either allow somebody to edit their time card or they couldn't edit their time card. And so it was kind of a pain in that, especially on our HR services model, we had to have our team answering employees' questions all the time, like, oh, I forgot to clock out on Tuesday. Can you clock me out? And so this has solved that for us, and that now it's just easy. They submit the request for the time that they should have clocked out, and it's approved by their manager with a click of a button, and they get an email notification. Same goes with time off requests. Click to request time off. They're able to dip into their bucket, see what they have, pick what days. Very simple. We have really easy to set up PTO accruals. Something I'm incredibly proud of is how simple our PTO accruals are to set up. I would love to show anybody, because I know that was just we have had so many problems with setting up PTO accruals in other systems that we spend a lot of time setting up the PTO accruals. And ultimately, this becomes the portal for the employees where they can get all their company information. So you'll see the tasks over here on the right. You'll see it kind of down as the screen cuts off. Just beneath that, there's company announcements. I've got my documents over there on the left nav. I've got, my time off available to me. I can really access everything from one spot on my phone or online. And core HR. Sometimes people don't understand what I mean when I say the core HR piece of it. Well, paperless HR, most of your employers would say, yeah, we'd prefer to go paperless and get everything off paper. Well, how do you do that? Well, you put it all online, right? And you have to have a series of online files or an online file available for each employee where you can upload documents. In our circumstance, you can add tasks that are time sensitive. You can even upload documents that we do drag and drop e-signatures. So think about kind of like DocuSign. You can upload any PDF into the system and add fields to it for the employee to complete, and then assign it to the employee as a task, and then they can e-sign directly in the system. You can even add expiration dates to documents. So we have a lot of early clients where hey, we want to track this certification. We want to track this license. And so we say, oh, what's the most simple and easy way to do that? Well, let's just add expiration date option to these documents whenever we upload them. And now we can run a simple report that shows us when documents are coming up on expiration. And finally, on the technology side, the branding. So we want to help our companies, our clients, engage, retain, and grow their people. They don't care about ERG, payroll, and HR. They care about Dunder Mifflin. So we want that brand to be the first thing that an employee sees. They get an onboarding email. It says, welcome to the Dunder Mifflin family. Welcome to the Dunder Mifflin HR portal. And it's not about us. It's about them. And we want to make sure that it's something where their brand is front and center. So outside of the payroll, HR, and time systems, what else do we use to manage our HR processes? And I think this is equally as important, is a lot of what we use in the back end. We kind of joke, and there's probably a lot of people out there that say, wow, you could just use this one system instead of that system. We are a technology heavy company. like I'm sure many of you on the phone are as well. But this is probably an abbreviated list of our most important applications we use in-house. And I'll just kind of talk about some of these briefly. So first and foremost, when you look at, we've got a support system called Zoho Desk. I think one of the biggest mistakes I see small firms and small payroll companies do is they rely on individual email addresses instead of setting up a support email. So set up a support email, make it where people can send something into a support system so you can track and manage how quickly you guys get those things responded to, make sure nothing falls through the cracks, make sure nothing's sitting in somebody's inbox for 3 weeks. The more people you add, the more complicated that gets. If you're newer, I can't suggest adding that early enough. We use a system called Zoho Desk for that. We use Zoho Connect for our manuals, which we document all of our SOPs in. We use their CRM, invoicing, analytics, etc. The only other one on here I'll make specific mention of is Trello. I would highly suggest having a project management tool so you can, if you're going to document all your processes on how you're going to roll out payroll services or HR services or HR software, you can create checklists and project plans that you can just replicate every new client. And I know there are a bunch of different tools that do the same thing. This is just our system of choice. So that's a handful of systems we use. And so what do we do? So at Guru, our focus is really on helping accountants to win new business. And that means whether that be adding HR software to your bag or adding additional HR services on top of that. And one of the biggest ways we want to be able to help you to grow and scale is by improving your internal operations and ultimately giving you better back-end software so that you can do things more efficiently and ultimately be able to add services. So one of the cool things, I mean, the roadmap of our platform, we're just continuing to add more and more functionality, but not to the point where we're going to get burdened down. So we aren't chasing every single piece of business, like I mentioned earlier, but we are making it better, easier to use, and also giving you options to add more services to your clients to help you grow your practice. So once again, I hope that you were able to take something out of our journey where we talked about the monstrosity we created initially by piecing together a bunch of different tools to try to serve the HR needs of our clients. We talked a lot about how we develop some of our internal processes and how we make those simple for our team and simple for our clients. And we talked about some of the positioning and how you take this to market and how you defeat some of your competitors and gain new market share. And if you need some help in doing that, I'd love it if you reach out to us. You can go to our website, guru.co, and book a demo of any one of our solutions. We have marketing. We offer some marketing when you just sign up for HR software, things like free videos, white papers, things that you can even email copy and things that you can use to prospect to your client base. But we also offer full service. We have a digital marketing agency. We have a great search engine optimization team that works for both of our companies. We also offer fractional HR, which means that you can hire one of our HR business partners who already know our processes and procedures to help you to roll out the same processes and procedures at your company for a fraction of the time and cost that it has taken us over the last 5 years. And then obviously you saw the HR software for timekeeping, core HR, and employee onboarding. I hope that you were able to get something valuable out of this conversation today, and I'm hopeful that I came in on time. And I appreciate everybody. And Div, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
All right, great. Thanks, Matt. And I actually realized I forgot to ask the other poll question, which I'll launch in a second. We've already gone through HR, but I'll ask in a minute how many of you are currently offering HR. In the meantime, a couple of questions that came in here. A couple of folks asked, including Sean, how big is your team at ERG to accomplish the services you offer?
Our team at ERG is about a dozen folks.
Okay, great. And by the way, folks, you should see a poll question open in front of you at this point, so you can go ahead and vote in that, just so we know that for our records as we go through this. Couple of other questions. How specifically do you integrate with Payroll Relief? Is it through an API?
Yes, we are using their API. We also have easy import export. So one of the things that I talked about briefly is our whole, we have no vested interest in working with any other payroll platform. And if if you're on this call and you're using another payroll platform, I'm sorry, and I'd be happy to talk to you about the merits of payroll relief versus some of the other platforms. Lord knows we've looked at every one of them. But even before the API was live, I say that to say, even before the API was live, we had taken the export files that can't come out of payroll relief so that you could easily set up a new customer in Guru by just simply export import and vice versa. You can export all of your team's information out of Guru or individual employees or changes. We have change reports as well. And then we are integrating via the API, which is currently a one-way push from Guru, pushing new hires and changes into payroll relief, which it will be more circular over the next coming months.
Great. And I think you, let's see. Greg asked, does Guru handle implementation to our clients, or do we handle that?
It depends on the model, but most folks do. Most folks, if they're just signing up for the HR software, we will sort of hold their hand through the first 3 implementations and help set that up for them while we're training them how to do it. And we also do, as you can see on the screen, some of the fractional HR where we actually handle the setups and we handle some of the back end. And we also offer sort of a hybrid model with like your traditional back office services where you can take more of a rev share. You know, if you look at our HR software model with Guru, it's really meant for you to be able to go out and make a good margin on it, a good healthy margin, and provide tier 1 support. But we know that that's not right for everybody. So we also have a model where we can get our people a little bit more involved, and then we can go full on with the fractional HR.
Mm-hmm. 2 people asked about sort of variations of if you can give your your experience with Swipe Clock, how that worked for you.
Yeah, we've worked with Swipe Clock for years. I will say that Swipe Clock is a really good fit for some folks that, you know, one of the things that I'll be the first to admit Guru doesn't have where I would bring in Swipe Clock is we don't have GPS pinpointing yet. We're not integrated with a whole bunch of different physical clocks yet. And so, you know, if those complexities are once again more of your audience than less, then that might make sense for you. But we one of the things that we like about our current platform is that it is a singular code base that we're not integrating multiple different systems into, and it's built for really a specific size company instead of all companies. So it's not going to solve all issues for all companies. If you need to go really wide and solve a lot of fringe cases, there might be other better tools for you. But Guru solves most cases in a really elegant fashion.
Okay, great. Question, if you're not currently doing HR, what are the first services that you think should be implemented?
Yeah, personally, I'd probably go the software out first and start to get a feel for how that works for your customers, how they interact with it, what their needs are, where they struggle to. So one of the main reasons we started offering the HR services on top of the HR software was because we realized that people just weren't doing a good enough job of utilizing the software internally. So we want to give them some aspect of not only the expertise of, you know, hey, let's write their handbook, but also, hey, let's get the most out of this piece of software. You've invested in something that automates a lot of key HR functions, but you don't have the time to train somebody to become a product expert on your end. So you can be that for your clients, and you can get to learn the systems better by rolling out the software end first, and then looking into maybe layering some services on top. Some of you may have already been offering some of the, aforementioned services over time where you're going, okay, cool, I've got a good feel for my market and what percentage of my clients need software. So now maybe it's time to lay some services on top of it.
Great. And just in terms of, I've had a number of people come in and say, I'd like to book a demo, I'd like to get more information. So guru.co is the best place for them to go. Is that right?
Yeah, so if you go to guru.co, you'll see several buttons that say book a demo, and click on one of those and you'll be able to grab a time on our calendar right from in there. So it's very simple. You click on the button, it'll pull up a calendar. You can pick a time that works best for you, and we'll have it on the calendar, and we'll be set right up to show you the software and talk to you through your current situation and learn more about how we can help you to achieve your goals of expanding your practice.
That's great. I want to thank you so much for joining us today. Many of the folks who are on the call are currently offering payroll, but not offering HR at all. But we get so many questions here at Accountants World about how to get your foot into that door, and I think this answered a lot of those questions, and I think hopefully also empowered people to realize that this is something that they can do, then that they can do within their existing practice. So Matt, thank you so much for your time today, and just a reminder, if you have any other questions for Matt or would like to book a demo, you can go to guru.co, that's GUHROO.co, and find more information there. And if you'd like to learn more about payroll relief, if you're not already a customer, you can go to accountantsworld.com and then go up on the solutions tab and select payroll relief from there to learn more about us as well. For those of you who selected to receive the free ebook, which is the vast majority of you, you'll be getting that in the next few business days. And I want to thank all of you for joining us today. And again, thanks to Matt for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it very much.
Absolutely. Thanks, folks, and we'll look forward to seeing you at another webinar soon.